In the name of Allah, the most graceful, the most merciful. We are not far away from the November 29th, the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, which is a UN-organized observance. On this day every year, the United Nations is supposed to urge immediate action in an effort to grant Palestinians sovereignty and independence from the occupation. As the international community commemorates this day, it continues to call for providing Palestinians with their human rights according to the UN General Assembly. This latter claims its support of the Palestinians' right to return to their homes, which they have been displaced from in 1948, when more than Palestinians became refugees. During this time, more than 760,000 Palestinian people were expelled from or fled their homes and became refugees. As early as December 1948, the UN General Assembly argued calling for refugee return, property restitution, and compensation. However, 75 years later, despite countless UN resolutions, the rights of the Palestinians continue to be denied. Today, displacement is not enough. It is even their right to exist and to be alive is negated. At least 50,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza in this genocide. No mention of the other casualties. We protest against this deceptive discourse and condemn UN lies. Indeed, while this International Day of Solidarity is commemorated in the presence of the US Ambassador, the UK Ambassador, and the French Ambassador, the day after, there has been resumption of bombardments. What solidarity is it? It's rather a blatant hypocrisy. True, it is solidarity in ethnically cleansing the Palestinian people, a cleansing with supporting evidence even for the blind and the deaf, but we will not mute towards these unspeakable violations of international laws. This while, 3 young Palestinian men were shot in Vermont, US, all aged 20, were out for a walk while visiting one of the victims' relatives when a white man with a handgun shot them, US police had said. For more than a century, the Palestinian people have stood steadfast against one of the longest and most brutal colonialisms in modern history, beginning with the Balfour Declaration of 1917, when Britain promised Palestine as a national homeland for the Jewish people at the expense of the indigenous population, and ending with the most recent episode of assaults on besieged Gaza. Palestinians persevered in the face of relentless dispossession, fragmentation, siege, apartheid, and attempts of dehumanization. This year's observance of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people coincides with the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the 75th commemoration of the Nakba. It also comes during the most recent military attack on Palestinian civilians in Gaza, an unprecedented act of collective punishment and extermination. Israel's ruthless bombardment over civilian infrastructures in Gaza over the course of 60 days has demonstrated yet again that Palestinians are an unprotected population under de facto Zionist occupation. The world is watching as 2.2 million people in Gaza were deprived of food and water, forcibly displaced, and bombed with more than 25,000 tons of explosives, and as the Palestinian healthcare system was razed to the ground. While some Holocaust historians describe this military operation in Gaza as crimes against humanity and genocide, many politicians and media pundits cheered Israeli crimes or merely stood silent, even after the United Nations General Assembly voted on October 27 in favor of a resolution calling for a humanitarian truce to protect civilians. 120 voted in favor, 14 voted against, including the United States and Israel. A ceasefire was not upheld until November 23. Watching the scenes of destruction inflicted on Gaza's civilian population and the killing of thousands, 6,000 of whom are children, one can only feel anger and confusion that some states objected to calls for ceasefire to protect lives.
From the river to the sea,
From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea,
From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
Free, free Palestine.
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 The other sad UN irony is that in 2 days' time, the Human Rights Day will be celebrated around the world on December 10th. Let's see how strictly the human rights in Gaza, Palestine, are respected. 70% of the genocide victims are children and women. Only 400 injured persons left the strip to get medical care out of 43,000 people. 1.5 million humans leave their homes. 61% of houses are destroyed by bombs. 43,616 casualties result from the occupation attacks on the Gaza Strip. 35 doctors are in jail. More than 3,580 persons in captivity status. More than 1,550 families were slaughtered. 81 journalists were killed in the occupation war against the truth. More than 16,248 martyrs after the ongoing bombardment. 130 hospitals and healthcare centers become out of service. More than 7,112 children have their bodies pierced by missiles. 50,000 tons of explosives are thrown out by the military plane on the civilian population. More than 7,600 persons are missing, either because they are under the rubble or being with unknown fate. The victims are not only numeral figures, they are iconic figures. They are academics, doctors, researchers, engineers, teachers, scientists, having brought added value to humankind. Now, how could we portray this Human Rights International Day in the Gaza Strip? It is an unmitigated disaster. It reminds us of the genocide perpetrated by the Serbs against Muslims in Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Dear, dear Ismail,
Dear, dear Ismail,
destroy Israel.
destroy Israel.
Dear, dear Ismail,
Dear, dear Ismail,
destroy Israel.
destroy Israel.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Civilians in Gaza are not just hungry, thirsty, injured, and homeless. They are forced to take off their clothes, sit still in the cold, and then be kidnapped by the occupation army. This fact you will never see on biased mainstreams or Morgan's show. In this cold winter time, there is still no food, no water, no medicine, no fuel, no shelter, no homes, no hospitals, and above all, the loss of families. All the elementary human rights are infringed with the assistance of the US and Western governments who are selling arms and providing military aid to the party who is recognized by the UN as having been violating the human rights and UN resolution over decades. What a disgrace, what a shame. The Western superpowers which are rewarding the transgressor instead of applying sanctions against it as required by the UN laws. Despite the destruction and loss of lives, there is one ray of hope, and that is the genuine transnational solidarity expressed by millions of people from all walks of life and ethnic and religious backgrounds. Growing solidarity with the Palestinian cause among young Americans is a sign that the public opinion is shifting in the United States and elsewhere. This war wasn't just about Gaza. It's a war that opened many Westerns' eyes on the occupation crimes. When will the officials open their eyes? As Allah said in the Quran, in Surah the Cave, those are the societies we completely ruined when they practiced unfairness, and we had set a time for their destruction and ruin. وتلك القرى أهلكناهم لما ظلموا وجعلنا لمهلكهم موعدا. الآية 59 في سورة الكهف. Peace to the free men of the world. Free Palestine.
Free, free